Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Kickpoint the Golf Gear Show live. Well, we're live. You're not listening to this live.
From
Nothing like live. From the Titleist Performance Institute in Carlsbad, California. Joe, they let us out.
This is very exciting. Not only did they let us out, they've let us into this incredible studio that we're allowed to record in.
Yes, so for those listening, Titleist at this wonderful facility have their own beautiful podcast studio, fit with sort of leather couch, beautiful wooden shelving with lots of Titleist merch on it, and just an altogether good vibe.
Makes me feel very professional. I feel under pressure, don't you?
I also feel too far away from you.
I feel perfectly adequate with how far away we are. Thank you.
Especially because I forgot to put deodorant on today, and
Correct.
It's been a busy day. And it has been a busy day, Joe. And what we're going to do in this episode is talk about our day here at the Performance Institute. And what have we been doing?
Well, what haven't we been doing? We started off, we were up very early, weren't we? And then we had a lovely welcome, and we went on a little factory tour to see how the clubs were assembled. And I wouldn't say, what's the right way of phrasing this? I wasn't beside myself with excitement, but when we got in there, we were both just looking at
beside yourself?
Well, we were both looking at each other, weren't we? It was just fascinating from start to finish.
There was an energy in there.
Yeah.
Though I'm sure many factories have that are producing whatever it is, because we're golf fans and it's Titleist, and I saw a set of Scotty Camerons going out.
I think
there was a lot of buzz.
Yeah, and I think what struck me, I think maybe I get snobby because I like to see what happens in the tour department and this, that, and the other. The standard assembly, standard isn't the right word, is it? It was just the level of detail and the stuff that was touched upon was absolutely fascinating. It's going to sound like, this shouldn't sound like a love fest because we're in the facility. Yes, we're here and we've been looked after wonderfully. Objectively, it was just pretty remarkable, wasn't it?
We'll talk more about this in a minute, but to plug what else is coming up in the pod, we have got our new T-Series irons up on the TV here. Yeah, they can see it on the wide look. That looks great. So we've been fit for the new series. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the irons themselves in a bit of a tested this week. You could call it a tested this week. You could also call it a tested an hour ago. Yeah. So we're a little bit fresh on it. So give us the benefit of the doubt. We haven't had time to really research this, but we'll give you the info.
I think the other way around. The pressure's on to deliver some really good info. It was only an hour ago.
Really? Because my head's scrambled.
No, I'm good.
Oh, great. Okay, well, we're going to talk about them. We'll talk more about the factory in a minute. Talk about our fitting. We've got Marnie Innes, who's the director of iron development, coming on to chat. Not about T-Series per se, but a little bit more broadly about some of the ways they work and some of his favourite Titleist clubs.
He's clever, isn't he?
He looks clever and is. Can confirm.
Yes.
So welcome him on. And then we'll do an Ask the Pod all the way from California. That's fun, isn't it? No jingle.
Fun. It's all fun. It's been one hell of a day. It's been unbelievable.
Talk more about his factory then, because like you said, it's amazing what they're doing. I've got it on my phone, so I'm going to get it in a minute. But the amount of clubs they'd made by 10 a.m. was daft. And the thing that's resonated with me the most today is the speed in which Titleist will turn over your fitted clubs for you. Less than 3 days, it will be out of that factory, whether it's here in California, over in the UK, Korea, Japan, South Africa. Am I missing any? There one more? There were 6 facilities, but less than 3 days it'll be out. How good is that?
It is impressive.
I remember the days of giving people lead times at American Golf of 8 weeks. That was COVID times, but 3 days for these things to be built for you, custom.
Well, yeah, and you and I can't organise getting together for the right time of the podcast, can you? And when you look at the scale of the operation and things that are going on there, the fact that it's all pulled together and everything works and complements one another and things go to the right place at the right time and things are picked exactly. It was just, the operation just was beyond comprehension to me. And I had a sort of a different takeaway from you. You're talking about the speed of turning the clubs around. That was very impressive for custom. But what struck me very early on when they were talking about, it wasn't necessarily from a warehouse manager's point of view, are often pressured on, you've got to get this many clubs done by this time. That wasn't really the point of pride that they were addressing. The point of pride, we're happy to sacrifice that so long as we hear absolute specifics on target. And they weren't talking about tolerances. A lot of things I've heard historically, if actually say, we try and work to a very tight tolerance. They didn't even try to mention the word tolerance. It was all about target. If it wasn't on target, it wasn't good enough. That was my big takeaway. I thought the tolerance chat was very interesting.
And because we spoke about it a lot, and a few weeks ago now, you mentioned that if you get fit for a drive ahead and it just feels great, ask for that one specifically because of these tolerances that exist. It feels like Titleist are trying to squeeze that as much as they can. And one of the lads said who toured us around, we take these tolerances seriously with our manufacturers, with our suppliers, and then we tighten them again Once they're being hit, we then tighten them again.
Well, we were also spoken about the weight stuff. So the club heads would come in and go into. Historically, I used to hear you might get they have a heavy weight and a light head weight to try and. There's 6 now.
Yeah,
they sort them into 6 different head weights. So there's like A plus, B plus, C's. So you can so specifically hit your swing weights, and they're doing that not only with their own components. They'll weigh grips that are coming in from Golf Pride, from Lambkin, from Superstroke, whoever. So they're double checking grips that have already been double checked by the manufacturer's QC, and then sorting those into tolerance of weight categories to make it even easier to hit very specific swing weights. It was just baffling.
There was a big pallet of Golf Prides coming. I thought we were going to lose you. We know how much you like a grip.
I love a grip, yep.
I'm surprised you didn't just take yourself off to one side while the tour carried on, but no, you
Well, I did.
You controlled
when
yourself.
I said I was going to the toilet, I went and delved in headfirst into all the tour velvets. That's what I did.
So as of 10:01 a.m. this morning, 5,579 irons, woods and putters had been made in the factory in Carlsbad.
Is that the sum total of your notes, Dan? Is that all you did?
That's all I did today.
Very, very good.
I took a picture.
Well done, mate.
But another thing that's kind of resonated me from this is, and we've spoken about how Titleist and Ping will do their 2-year releases, and I think it makes more sense to me to do that because you get more time to do R&D. It surely makes more sense to make it, in the factory. But while they take time on that, once they're ready and they've got a product they're happy with, they will custom build these things so quickly.
Very true. Very true.
Nothing to say,
nothing to say. No notes on that. What was your Go on. One thing, if someone asks you how was the tour, what's the first thing that will come to your mind when you're recounting the tour? What will come up? Mine personally.
Go on, yeah. Give me a second to think about that.
Well, I've got 2. The durability tests.
Oh yeah, good shout.
Which I never thought of, but they were literally taking components, taking club heads, and putting them in UV chambers. They're even the head covers. I
did take a note on this actually. Thank
Brilliant,
you very
well
much.
done, Dan. Head covers going into UV chambers for a specific
that.
amount of time to check how much the leather will discolour.
Do you know how long the head cover went into the UV chamber?
150 hours, was it, Dan?
I took a note of that as
yeah,
well.
well, I took that note in my mind, so in your face.
I thought I'd won that one.
And other things like shaft wear and tear. So they'll stick the shafts, and they were dropping. What was it? It wasn't ball bearings.
It was ball bearings.
There was ball bearings
And
involved, but there was sand, there was metal,
very coarse
shavings
sand.
to see how much the shafts are standing up to bag wear.
It's like a play area for
testing
destruction.
it for people like yourself who hit a lot of roofs with their drivers, sky marks, idiot marks as we call them, or Parker marks as I call those. Testing how well the driver paint will stand up to that. It was everything was thought of. And my last one that I loved, we talk about rat glue, hot melt in their heads.
Oh, you loved this little thing.
This was a lovely section. So not only could they hot melt to specific, so they're measuring to 0.1 of a gram the hot melt that was coming out to achieve specific swing weights. They had a little rack the head goes on and pins you could move about to change the orientation of how the head sat on the wall. So the glue went to very specific areas of the head without normally that's
because
done
before that would have been done by vibe and feel, right?
Yeah, so on tour, even now, like a lot of the guys will just hot melt goes in, one squeeze will be whatever 4 grams, tilt the head if I want that in the forward toe position, so it goes down there and sort of tap it to feel the heat. And it's, I guess, there's an art to it, and the guys that are doing it all the time, etc., are feeling that out a bit. But there's no chances taken at the factory. It's just like if you want it forward toe, you move the little pin into position 2, and there was like I felt like over a dozen orientations this could go on. It's just fascinating, Dan. Enjoyed it.
Only a man like you could have found that bit that interesting.
Yes,
but good for you, eh?
Yeah, good for me.
Right, let's talk about T-Series and our fitting then. So we've been lucky enough to be fitted like an hour or so ago now here at TPI. This will have come out a decent way after the embargo of T-Series. So everyone's going to know about that T-Series exists. But should we talk about them very briefly anyway let's go our first impressions on them, I guess. How did you get on?
First impressions, so that's visual, isn't it? And I think what a leap forward.
You think?
In terms of the aesthetic. Yeah, 100%. I mean, certain things haven't changed, and that was alluded to. So like the T100 profile in behind the ball, the pros were like, just do not touch this.
No feed. No pro had any feedback. And that's probably the best thing they could have heard. I'm guessing the guys and girls at Titleist, right?
But what has happened, and it's happened with a few brands to be fair, but I don't know if I've seen it done as blatantly or efficiently as this. The cohesion of all the models.
Do you think it's one of the best yet? Because there's a couple that are quite good, but there's T100, T150, T250, T350. Have all 4 of them looking as cohesive as they do.
Stop stealing my words. But yeah, cohesive. Fleet-footed. I haven't used fleet-footed at all. But yeah, beautifully cohesive and just gives you that option to, which we're going to get onto later, aren't we? Talking about combo sets. I think I've seen a question on combo sets. Yeah. But the ability to even have any number of combinations and have your bag still looking kind of cool to look at and not dotting anything sticking out like a sore thumb. I thought from a first impression standpoint, that was excellent.
My first impressions were that T100 and T150 look exactly the same, and that's a good thing. The biggest change aesthetically is coming T250, which is replacing T200. I'm glad they've renamed it. I'm glad they're giving that a new space. I think I didn't love last year's T200 or last generation's T200 just because of that sort of material on the back that was a bit different that made it, not look as good as T100 or as cohesive, but also made a bit of a clicky sound, I found, when you hit it.
I never found that sound at impact, but I found that sound when they would click against each other in the bag.
Right, yeah.
I noticed
they'd be touching it was polymer on.
That kind of plasticky sound. And now that's gone to full metal back and it just looks...
It looks mint.
Astonishingly good, doesn't it?
And that is going to be really popular. That's always one of their most popular ones anyway, so it's good that they've really refined that. They should have a good time with that, I suspect.
Yeah, I think so. So what did you get fitted into?
Surprisingly for me, T100, because, and again, this is something me and my fitter Lucas spoke about, was like, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. He said he was going to challenge me. I was like,
okay,
I want to be challenged. But to me, I was like, I'll be coming out of Ping I230. That feels very T250 to me. If you're going to go into a similar club, but no, T100, 6th wedge, which we'll go into in a minute. Stayed in my Modus 3 shaft, but have gone from 105 to 120, and the whole fitting for me was focused on peak height.
Because you started quite low, right? What were you peaking
apparently 77 feet with a 7 iron. I had no idea what that meant.
For context, Ludwig cruises at about 140, so kind of double that down.
Yeah, Ludwig's a professional golfer who's 6'4".
True, and there is that.
You know, I can't do that. So I'm half of him. I'm half of the man he is.
In so many ways.
In so many ways, I'm half of the man he is. But I didn't know that was as low as it was. And we were chatting, I'm a 6 handicap. I'm a settled 6 handicap, perhaps 2 settled. How do you come down? He's like, well, let's talk about holding more greens. How can you hold more greens? Come in with a higher descent angle. How do we get that? Let's get that ball higher in the air. So my whole fitting was focused on that. Tried every head in a really interesting way. I don't know if your thing was like this, but I went through every head in chronological order, if you will, from low to high, just so Lucas could show me what was going on with each. He said, well, that's no good for you because of this. And I found that as a fitting process so interesting.
I wonder whether that would happen for a normal, because we're obviously on a media trip as such, and they want to show us the individual models. I wonder whether that would actually be, I think, personally, quite a useful process. Again, even if you're just trying to show people what's available and why that's wrong, and just for the understanding, I think that's key.
It then reaffirms why I'm in T100. And he goes, listen, I know you thought you'd rather T150 or T250, but look at your turf interaction, look at the quality of strike, look at the start line of it, look at all these things. This is the reason we're in it. Not just because you hit a few good ones initially.
I think the knowledge is key. Like we spoke about that in the last pod, didn't we? There was a question on a guy with his wedge grinds, and he mentioned in the question that he hadn't been told why he was in that level of bounce, why he was in that grind. He was asking us what those grinds meant.
Correct, yeah.
That concerned me, because a good fitting should be explaining why we're going here. This is your tendency. This is why we're doing this. And going through all those models really highlighted, this is why that'd be no good for you, mate.
And it's brilliant, but to your point, like, can everyone listening get access to that? Probably not. We are at one of the most elite fitting facilities in the world.
But this is where a lot of the fitters come to get trained.
So they can take that away.
Through that
You'd
process.
need, if you had 2 hours with a fitter anywhere, I don't care what setting it is, if you had the time, you could go and do that. And let's talk about those facilities for a second, actually, before coming to your fitting, because the turf, the golf balls, the sunshine, it was all rather lovely, wasn't it? And the big cart thing they wheel out next to you, and he's got all the shafts in, the big telly and track
just making stuff up. No one wheeled anything out. It was all there ready for us.
But it can wheel.
It can wheel, but it wasn't
they would have wheeled it out at some point.
Making things up.
Yeah. I'm trying to give some theatre to the whole thing.
But yeah, no, it was just brilliant. And the draws, so the little stations on the cart where you're measuring loft and lie of your own set, measuring the static length. There was drawers for the shaft options, and the new fitting. I don't know what you'd call it, the fitting apparatus for Titleist, I guess.
The hosel, the sure-fit hosel.
Sure-fit hosel, where you can change loft and lie, so you're not having to run off and bend things. You can change loft and lie on.
though Lucas did bend an iron for me, and I thought that was really cool.
That's
He ran
like
off and bent an
tour
iron like
treatment.
live, and I was like, that's naughty. That felt cool. I felt really proper. Yeah.
That is sort of treatment. Yeah, that was cool. But also in the T-Series fitting irons, you've got the little notch in the back of the head. Did you see directly behind impact where you can change swing weight as you go? And we've spoken about it so much on the pod, such an underrated rather, parameter of club building is controlling the actual mass. You've got to move it around your body at a certain speed and bring it back to within a millimeter. So if you're not at the right weight and you're having to work too hard to do it, strike's compromised. And if strike's compromised, all your other parameters are totally compromised. You've got to try and find the center. And that was a lot of what my fitting was centered around, was just finding centerness of strike.
Let's do your fitting then. You found the one English lad at the fitting centre, which was great.
Yes,
nice
Louis.
to hear a familiar voice, from your accent.
Louis from Burton-on-Trent.
Burton-on-Trent, yeah. And how did it go? What were you in? What were you working? Like I said, I was talking about height is the word I'm after with my. Where were you at? What were you looking for?
So where was I looking? So I started. I'm quite a high spin player. We've spoken about this a bit before. So I like 7-iron. I sort of living around a 7,500 revs of spin, which I always am a little concerned about, because sometimes when you play when I turn into a 10-15 mile an hour headwind,
You get a bit nerdy. You get a bit.
I do. I just start thinking, oh, cool, I've got to club up. I've got to grip down. I've got to take pace off. And I sort of said I wanted to feel a bit more comfortable just playing a normal shot into a light breeze. Because any sort of puff into me at all is minimal. That panics me. But what Louis did, which I thought was really impressive in the fitting, and I haven't seen that much before, and again, maybe it's facility based slightly, is he said, well, come on, show me what happens into wind. Hit me a knockdown. Let me see how much this, if it is as dramatic as you're talking about. And then when I went into the iron that he fitted me into, which I'll talk to you about in a moment, I was losing. When I was hitting my into-wind knockdown, I was losing about 5 or 6 yards of carry, where in my head, it was 15, 20.
So it's absolutely
he's like,
manageable
look, we don't
work,
want
isn't it?
Yeah, he's like, don't get rid of this spin that you've started with. You're a high spin player, and you hit it very high and peak
What was your, if mine was 77, I worked my way up to like the I think I was 85, 86 by the end of my fitting. You're probably towering above me.
120 I was, yeah, 115 to 120.
Good for you.
Thank you, Dad. Yeah, that's very kind. I could sense that was very sincere. So he was just like, no, stop being afraid of what you've got here. The grass isn't greener. People would pay good money to launch it and spin it that much. People are seeking that height. I'm not going to fit you into something that takes that away.
Yeah.
Get a grip. Look at your knockdown shot. It's fine. We're gonna almost not enhance that. I ended up spinning it within 100 revs of that on average.
Yeah.
But we went 2 weaker in a T100, 2 degrees weaker, which sort of baffled me to start with. I didn't know where he was going with that.
Yeah, what's the theory here?
Yeah, I was thinking I've just complained about hitting it high and spinning it too much. You're weakening the lofts, Louis. Come on, man. But it maintained that level of spin. My peak height, I found another 5 to 10 feet. And he said, look, let's try and hit those knockdowns. Let's see. He said, we're not married to this spec, but give me some knockdowns with that. And I was like, all right, I'll hit my little half shot. I think it's going to go about 140, because in my head, that's what happens. Like I said, 5 or 6 yards of difference. Yeah. I could bring that launch down. I could get my peak to about 95, and the spin dropped under 6. So when I need to do that, I'm not losing as much as I thought. And again, that's part of a really great fitting. Isn't just we're going to change everything to show you how clever I am. It can be to recalibrate what someone's thinking, because it's not happening, mate. That's not what you're telling me isn't happening, and here's why. Stop panicking. We're going to maximize your strength here. And he did a great job of that.
And it's a positive feedback loop is a word that Lucas uses with me.
Okay.
Or a phrase that Lucas uses with me. If I can get you in one of them and you're just swinging your swing and I'm getting the club to do the right thing and you're seeing that, communicate with your brain that you're doing the right things, you swing better.
Yeah. No, it was that was comfortably one of the better fitting experiences I've seen. So one club I'm absolutely gagging. They turn around very quickly in the factory.
Oh yes.
It was the T250U utility build. No, the T250U. Me.
Not doing it again.
T250U 3-iron utility build.
Why were you so gagging for this?
Mate, it was. We sort of went after the fitting, and I was talking about set composition. Where do we stop? Where are we going to combo this? If so, where are we going to combo this? he just kept working up through 5. Yeah, you can handle that. 4. Yeah, you can handle that. 3. We started talking about what I would use it for and how and why. And he said, I quite like you in a utility build for this. Here's a couple of options. We tried the U505, but the T250U just looks fantastic. It doesn't look like a utility iron. You know, some of those utility irons have a very different look to a set iron.
What was that Strixon had, the really fat back?
Correct. Yeah. The ZXRU.
Me?
No, me.
You.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one of those. But this one, again, it just looked like such a cohesive extension of the set. And I was just pinging this thing straight up in the air, but not over spinning. And then again, he said, right, let's hit some off-speed ones. Can you knock that down? He said, that's wonderful, but can you knock this down? And I started hitting some little fizzers, and it looked the part, it felt the part, and I could do what I wanted with. This sounds like we're overdoing this, doesn't it? Because we're here and we've just had a lovely day and lovely
trying to temper it back, but you had a good time, and that's okay. You're allowed to feel those feelings.
Yeah, that's fine, isn't it?
What did you end up in iron? You haven't told us. You were T100 as well.
T100.
So give me the why, and then give me a little feedback on the iron. I think, but we'll do a proper review of this once you've had time with all the irons, which you will when we're back home. Just give me your sort of first instinct on it, actually. Yeah. On how you felt with them.
On why? Oh, well, okay, yeah.
So why were you in them, and then give a sort of mini review of them for those listening.
Again, he asked really good questions at the start, so I think I like a slightly more compact blade length. I like not an overly thick top line. So he straight away was leaning towards T100 as that end of the market, and I'm a better player, if you like, in that sense.
You're used a much better player.
I'm used to that kind of a look, and yeah, again, we worked through the models to show why, to show what's happening from, I guess, from a media perspective, but also from an education perspective. And yeah, just tapered back to T100. We were just seeing exactly what we've just spoken about in a product presentation, which you're going to hear very shortly when we talk to Marnie about spin consistency, maintaining your spin levels, maintaining those peak heights. You don't want to chase the big number. It's not a driver where you're looking to get maximum pop. We want the same thing to happen over and over again. And when I looked at the parameters with T100, my launch was within 0.6 of a degree. My spin, albeit still high, around the 7,500
But you'd
mark.
accepted we're not going to battle that today.
Yeah, well, I didn't accept it until he kept going on at me. You know what I'm
Did
like.
Did he tell you off? Did you get a bit of a word? Did you have a word with you?
Yeah, we had a moment, and he told me very much he was in charge of the fitting, and he was absolutely right, and he was right to have that word with me.
He was, yeah. Otherwise, you'd still be there now in the same debate. Yeah.
Correct. So worked way back to that, and yeah, the levels of consistency in terms of all the parameters, those key parameters you were talking about, launch, spin, and more importantly, the consistency of that spin and the descent angle. Talked a lot about descent angle.
That was most of my fitting was about descent angle.
But yeah, and kind of keeping the correlation between the carry distance and the total distance as tight as possible. Because as soon as that starts getting up to 10, 11, 12 yards, the ball's out of control when it's hitting the deck. So we had that descent angle chat very specifically, and I was just getting really good numbers. And then, like I said, towards the end of the fitting, it was more about set composition. Where, are we going to look to combo this? Do you need help in the longer irons? And again, because I'm slightly higher speed and I do spin it a bit, I didn't necessarily need to go into a high launching product at the top end. So it's a combo set of sorts for to pitching wedge and the me in the 3 iron. But that's where I ended up, and I'm thoroughly looking forward to receiving them.
Can't wait to receive them. We'll give a more in-depth review of each iron, because you'll review them all when you're home, right? Yeah. We'll do that in a later pod, or you can probably read it on the Golf Winter website by now. Yeah, probably.
I think so.
Yeah.
You put me under a lot of time pressure there, aren't you? Because I'm going to have to turn these reviews around now. Thank you.
But we'll do more info on that, and it was just great. It was just great.
Hell of a day.
Hell of a day. I should pass on to Marnie, who designed these things.
Yes.
We had a little chat with him about 20 minutes ago, and we're going to cut into a section where you got to ask a man who designs irons the question I think you want to ask every iron designer about bounce and grind.
Keep asking till it happens now.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what he says.
Dan, am I allowed to ask some of my more self-indulgent questions?
I think when we've got a man like Marnie here, I think now is the time and the place.
I have to ask Dan permission for a lot of these things. Sorry, Marnie.
I am his carer.
There's elements of that. So, right, here's a question. Which I've just introduced. Yeah, it's going to be a question. Brace yourself.
All right.
Bounce angles on irons. So we're here at Titleist, we're here at TPI. So we've spoken about Vokeys, and we see the abundance of bounce and grind options that you can get fitted in your wedges. Now, to me, and I said this on our podcast a lot, irons are interacting with the turf just as much as wedges.
Almost as much, I'd say.
Okay.
Almost as much.
Almost as much. Okay, well, that's
Right.
an interesting start. Have you ever considered, or is it a consideration ever in terms of manufacturing to offer? You saw me hitting golf balls. I'm quite steep, right? So I'm sort of 8, 9 down on the golf ball, but I'll be playing essentially the same sole as someone who might be 1 down, and that's deemed not appropriate for wedge play. Why is it appropriate for iron play? And is it ever a thought that you would offer different bounce or grind options? Because a lot of the tour players I see will modify their soles for their game. Is that something you would ever think might come to retail, or is unnecessary?
Maybe, and I say almost as much, and really I'm only talking about short iron end of the set, right? Because as you go through your iron set, the club gets longer, swing plane gets flatter, your angle of attack should, I'm not going to say it always does for players, but it should lessen, right? You shouldn't be as steep with your 3 iron as you are with your pitching wedge or your sand wedge. So when I'm looking at the short iron end of the set, I totally agree with you. Yeah, there's probably some potential there. Maybe you get someone in a tour van for a tour player to do a slight grind if they need it, right? But we are trying to design an iron that covers the breadth, right? So the consideration that we have in an iron like a T100 is there some material that they could do, say a pre-wear on that iron? Yeah, there is a little bit of material there where they can do that for certain players. And there are a few out there. But overall, we're trying to design a sole that performs out of the greatest number of conditions for the greatest number of players, right? And the fact that it is a very popular iron on worldwide tours, not just PGA Tour, says that we're getting the right feedback and putting the right features into that sole to satisfy that goal, right? But to your point, are there tweaks that you could do for certain players that might be beneficial for them? Yeah, there is, but we can't see right now, imagining how many grinds are there on a bogey, right? How many letters are there? Can you imagine having that many products just for a sole for a T100?
I'm not asking for that
right?
one. I'm asking for, could we have a skew of high bounce, mid bounce, low bounce?
Oh, like 3. Yeah, you probably could, right? But then, if you think about it, with fitting too, like a good fitter will notice those things and may in fact like change your loft.
That's exactly
to help you do that, right? So if it's a degree, if you only need a degree, like what I said earlier, you shouldn't need as much adjustment in your irons as you would say in a wedge maybe. But if it's a degree and it helps you with turf interaction, yeah, they might do that for you, right? Through a good club fitting.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, let's go back in time a little bit now. As an Iron Man, give me your favorite. Like, you can't say the current T-Series either.
That's a given, right? We're going to give you that one.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll give you that one. Do you have a standout legacy product that holds a special place in your heart?
Yeah, I actually like the concept iron. It was called the CNCPT-02. So this is a muscle back looking iron that has the size and shape. So it's very minimal offset, very small blade, very thin top line, looks like a muscle back for all intents and purposes. But it's got all the business that you see in some of these irons here, right? It's got all the tungsten weightings. It had an L face insert in there. And so when I would hand people that 5 iron to hit, what was fun about it was watching the difference between their expectation and what they saw coming off that club was just, it's unlike anything else. Well, the closest thing now, I would say, is the T250 launch spec, right? People, they have an expectation of launch angle and then they see this and they're like, whoa, what was that, right? But this is coming from a muscle back looking head, right? So the expectation is really like, oh, I'm going to hit a bullet with this thing, and it launches. So
fascinating stuff. Well, just for the record, mine was the old 962B.
Yep.
The Deval iron. Love that iron.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that iron. That's great.
Well, there you go. Then you got all your questions out of the way.
I am, yeah. I feel fulfilled. Thank you, Dan.
Well, Marnie, thank you
Marnie.
for joining us. Thanks for talking us through the T-Series. We've both been fitted into it. We love it. Look forward to getting them home with us. So great job.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you, Marnie, for joining us. Is that the answer you wanted, Joe? I think you were giving him and Titleist a lot more work. We saw how that factory worked today, yet you want to add a million more SKUs.
That's the last thing they need. But he answered it, as you would imagine, very, very succinctly and very logically. And I was trying to, I guess my sticking point with that was, I'm suggesting that, they're interacting with turf just as much. Marnie doesn't agree, and I could take his point on that as a very different level of interaction, because essentially as you're going up in length into your longer irons, just naturally your angle of attack is going to get shallower, so there's going to be less turf interaction. So I get that. He didn't altogether rule it out though, Dan.
No, I think he liked it. Yeah. I saw his sort of an eyebrow sort of twitch slightly, maybe. But maybe we've got to do this with the rest of the brands now, because you've poked TaylorMade on it.
Yeah. Well, hey,
Titleist now.
Maybe I'm more influential than I think. I've got some other things that I mentioned to a couple of people that I've seen come to fruition lately from other companies, but we'll get into that another time. So
big man.
I'll talk to you about that.
Well, he spoke about his favourite club from Titleist, and you sort of mentioned one of yours. You must have a few more you want to get into. I genuinely, apart from a Scotty Cameron Futura X I've spoken about already on the pod, which I bought from a trade in American Golf, and an SM10 I hit the other week, because I wanted to, and the bloke I was playing was left-handed. I'd never hit a Titleist club before. I haven't got any favourites here. Well, I know you do.
And you're not as old as me. So you haven't got as much time to go back through the age.
They've been playing golf a couple of years. I'm just this good.
I'll start from the bottom then, because was this an Ask the Pod, or are you just asking me this?
No, I'm asking you. It's a question from me.
So I started with, what did I say to Marnie there? The DCI 962B irons. Those are tremendous.
Okay.
So they were essentially designed for David Duval. When David Duval became a Titleist staff player back in the day, he had a very kind of unique delivery and wanted a very specific soul grind, and that it kind of leads into from that question, Marnie, about soul grinds and bounce. These things look like the soul, which we'll put a picture up because I pre-saved that for you, Dan. So there's no way you don't have to dig that out. I'll send you that personally.
I really appreciate it.
For the post-production here.
See the horror in my face.
Absolutely, that's why I got into that. Loads of heel relief, loads of, I would say topography, but I don't know what a better word is, contouring,
topography. It's a great word. It's a good use of the English language.
So much more than I've seen on any other iron. There's so much going on with Soul because of the way he specifically delivered it. And I've seen recently on Instagram, there's a company called, what's his name? Western Mahan, who kind of looks at classic brands, makes clubs, and will 3D map them and prototype and then reforge them. He's done kind of Tiger's putter, his famous Scotty Cameron putter, and he's made a version of that. Now he's looked back through the ages and remembered fondly, like me, the 962B. So he's essentially me with the capabilities to do something about it.
Ooh.
Yeah. So he thinks like me, this fella, and then he goes and CNC mills one or forges one or something like that. And I've seen the prototype and it looks really, really cool. But yeah, that was certainly one of my favourite irons. You could get one to pitching wedge as well, which I thought was, I love that. Do you remember we've had that discussion about Jack
We did it in Nicholas's What's in the Bag, and that is how golf should be. It should be a driver, a wood, and irons all the way down to sand wedge that are exactly the same.
Yeah.
That's how it should be. Bring back the good old days.
Bring back the good old days. So that would be my pick of the Titleist irons. Wedges.
Does it begin with SM?
Doesn't.
Ooh.
Pre-SM, there was, I think Vokey was still responsible for these. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Probably should have fact-checked that based on where we are.
House.
Probably there's several people I could have fact-checked.
Someone's going to burst through that door now and beat you to death.
There's so many people I could have fact-checked this with before uttering this out. But I think it was just pre-Vokey. It was the Tour Player Forged wedges. It was 1996 to 1999 was the era. And they weren't Vokey stamped, but they may have been responsible. We'll get to the bottom of this and we'll talk about it in another episode. But they would specifically have, I think, who was in them? Brad Faxon, Steve Elkington, Davis Love, players of that. The boys, yeah. The boys, yeah. And they would have like just a little elk stamp. But it wasn't like a stamping where you get like a temporary stamping now. It would be the elk model and it would be part of the makeup. Those were cool. And there were some really cool shapes and they were so different. And that was the first sort of 1996. What would I have been? You're going to say 42, aren't you? It was in my
I wasn't going to go there because I was going to say
You were.
I was -1.
I saw the blink in your eye there. Yeah, and it was just the sort of the coolness of seeing some clubs with an individual player name on
Could
it.
you get some images of these for me?
Yeah,
please, and then the viewers can see it.
Yeah,
I don't
100%. You'll
yeah,
enjoy
thank
those.
you.
So I love
Thank you
those.
for that.
But I think a lot of people's favourite and mine, 975D, the driver.
And why was this? Why is this so revered? Because I hear this all the time.
It could be an era thing because Woods, in his pomp,
Was
before going down the Nike route, he was big into 975D. You could get it in.
Where are we here? 2000, early 2000s.
No, about a similar era to the wedges I'm talking about there. I think all my core memories are from around that time.
You've got a very specific era you enjoyed.
14 was a great time for me. But you could get them from, I'm pretty sure you could get them from like 5.5 degrees all the way up to 12.5, which was a thing. And they were just, excuse me, phone's dropping. A beautiful little compact pear-shaped head, lovely deep face, bore-through hosel, glued, bonded hosel, no adjustability, just a really classic, beautiful looking head, and so many of the best players. It was like the only driver to play at that time. It came along, and there's just so many. You know, we spoke when we went to live, and we saw so many GT3s in people's bag and GT2s, and so many non-contract players. It was just the go-to. But then your people who were prolific Titleist players at the time. I've just got so many memories of Sergio Garcia when I would watch him at Wentworth with his 975D, just putting on driving displays you couldn't even fathom. Davis Love, Tiger. It was just such a classic driver. And then the few iterations after that kept a very, very similar look, but would involve a bit more face flexion. And it got to the point where the kind of the COR limits came in, and a couple of them, like I think it was 983K and J and things like that, exceeded the trampoline effect, so it became defunct. And it was just such a good era for drivers. I alluded to this earlier. Actually, I was chatting to Neil when we were talking about shafts. We went in the shaft section of the warehouse, and the options, like boggling, wasn't it? Like everywhere you looked, every shaft you've ever seen from Tenside to Graphite Design to Autoflex, I saw in there.
That was one of the cells, which is what they call a production line, effectively, which was doing woods. There was a stack ready to go on a bunch of clubs, and it was an array of color. There's no like, oh, it's 90% Fujikura or more heavy to one brand. It was a complete
everything
kaleidoscope of shafts,
which leans into the custom philosophy, doesn't it? There was just barely looked like a single club was coming out the same.
Nothing you'd see, I don't know, yes, on a shelf. They'll do a handful of them, but it all felt like custom.
And I mentioned this to, I think it was Jason who was touring us to start with. There was kind of 3 shafts. There was a proprietary Titleist shaft you could get in that 975D. And then you would get an EI70, which is like a dark green, which looked really cool.
Yeah.
That was what the players played.
Yeah, that sounds
And then there
cool.
was like a UST Pro Force, the original, and it was like a yellow and purple. I'll show you that shaft. That'll go up because that was one of the coolest looking shafts.
Good.
And that was considered, got custom options there.
That was considered 3 or 2.
Yeah, that was considered frivolous.
Now look at us. We're lucky.
Where we are.
We're lucky.
Aren't we just?
That was your favourite Titleist
Those
club?
are my favourite Titleist clubs, I would say.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
You really went off into what? You went off into a nice little world when you were describing that last one in particular. You liked that, didn't you?
Yeah, 975. I did a video last year, a retro review, comparing it against, I think it was GT. It's just so, like, things have moved on. There was a definite ball
since the late 90s.
Since the late 90s, there was a definite ball speed and spin discrepancy for sure.
But the vibes.
Oh, the vibe. It was still so enjoyable. The feel, the thud, the feedback. Would toe strikes, toe and heels, were you losing a lot? Yes, I was losing some ball speed, but I was having a great time. It's just brilliant. Brilliant.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Joe. We're going to do an Ask the Pod now. A couple Ask the Pods we've got. Before we do that, I forgot to mention that the fittings we've spoken about, you'll be able to watch. They'll be on the channel somewhere, we think, by now.
We haven't worked out how we're going to cut those together. Whether we're going to put 2 individual up or blend them together.
Or when it's out.
We'll figure it out.
We've got no idea. It might not be out.
Might not be.
It will be coming, or it won't be out.
Howard might not even put the sound on. They might be just visual only. We don't know this yet.
Left the lens cap on.
Yeah.
You might be able to watch that. And we'll also have a video of a behind the scenes look at the factory. So you'll be able to see some of the stuff we've spoken about. We'll have also put some B-roll over the top of our conversation. So if you are listening, this is probably worth a hop over to YouTube for, isn't it?
For sure, yeah.
Right, Ask the Pod. We're not going to do the jingle because we are away from home.
We discussed having a go a cappella, but we thought better of it, didn't we?
Ask the Pod.
No.
Okay,
Move
right,
on.
first one. It's from Wayne in Shrewsbury. In Shrewsbury?
Shrewsbury or Shrewsbury?
There is an official way, and I may have got that wrong. I remember there's a whole news story about it a few years ago. We'll go Shrewsbury.
Doesn't feel that relevant though, does it? Should we get to the question?
Hello, lads of the pod. Joe, your hair's looking better with every episode.
Thank you, Wayne.
That's nice, isn't
It's
it?
big Wayne.
Wayne and Wendy's. You're big with the W's.
Yeah, big with the W's.
This is about fitting. Now, if I'm going to a fitting, if I'm going to a fitting, and you as a previous fitter, Joe,
Yes.
and I could rank my swing on a scale of 1 to 10 of where I feel it's at, what should my minimum be at to go into a fitting to have a good fitting?
That's a great question because, yeah.
It's an interesting way of framing it, because what he's basically saying is, you know, I had plenty at American Golf, even when I was fitting, you know, very high handicappers, and I'm sure you've had it, when they can't hit the ball properly, you can't fit, you send them away. What level does it have to be at to get
away? I bet you still tried to sell them something, didn't you? Yeah, of course you did.
KPIs to hit, mate. Where would you want them at for a fit? I think luckily I was swinging it really well. I felt my swing was in an 8 or a 9.
There were a lot
maybe a 10. Yeah.
There were a lot of nice strike noises coming from your bay. There was. I thought someone else was having a go. I assumed someone else had taken over at one point, but yeah, it sounded lovely.
But it could have been at a 6 or 7. I still think I'd have got the kind of fitting I was after, right? To Wayne's question, what do you think the number would be?
You'd think in your head, 10 out of 10 is a great place to be, wouldn't you? Because like, I want to go in flashing it, and that's I want to put on a show. But is that is that reflective of what you do all the time?
I've wandered in today,
and
said to Lucas, I love a baby. If I could hit a 5-yard little fade, just for the rest of my life, call me there. Just these baby draws all day.
Really?
So what's that all about?
Well, what
so
it was
I don't know
about
what that's all about.
I know what it was about for you, because there was there was a fairly prominent left to right wind, wasn't there? So not suggesting you weren't hitting a lovely baby draw, Dan. You might have been straighter than you were thinking, but yes, there may have been a little enhancement there.
Huge for me.
Yeah, it's a really tough one, isn't it? But again, like, I don't know if it's that. It's a great question, but I don't know how relevant it is, because you don't have that much influence over it. You booked your fitting. It's not like you're going to work towards peaking for your fitting. You kind of got what you got on the D. I guess you could.
You could cancel the fit a few days before if you're just like, listen, mate, I'm not in a good space.
I would suggest, if you're all over the shop, I think that is a good point. That's a very good point. It probably, you want to at least be having something reflective of what you do on the normal day. So I would say, if you feel like you're at a 2-3 kind of out of 10 mark for your striking and you're swinging that point, it may be well worth a call to the fitter and say, can we just move this back a week or two? I just need to find something, because I want to give you something to work with that's more reflective of how I play. But equally, if you're flushing it the day before you're fitting, don't cancel it, because I don't want to be fit like this because I'm hitting it too well. That will also be beneficial, and you can...
It's still a good thing.
Yeah, and a good fitter will talk you through that, right? A good fitter will say, you know, is this reflective? Is this the shape you hit? If you aren't swinging it this well, what's your predominant miss? Is it low on the face? Is it toe side? Is it whatever? So a really good fitter will cajole you through a lot of these scenarios. But if you're really struggling, and I've done it several times, where you just say, look, and don't get me wrong, beginners and people who are really just taking up the game, who think, am I good enough to be fit? 100%.
This is it. I don't want to scare beginners away from fitting, because it's arguably even more important.
Even if you're barely making contact, people will still have some static measurements, right? You'll still be able to get an idea of what length's going to suit that player, what lie angle. That's still going to remain pretty constant. They'll have a speed, they'll have a tempo, even if it's relatively inconsistent. There's going to be a ballpark place to start getting. Will it be as in depth as someone who's hitting it in the same place every time and delivering the same numbers every time? No, but that doesn't mean it's not pertinent. It's still an important thing to go through. So one of the world's most waffliest answers to a question here, but
he just wants a number. 5.
Yeah, 5, Wayne. Move on.
Go get fit.
In summary, Wayne, 5.
Great question though, Wayne. I like that sort of way of looking at a fitting. Another one, while we're here, Joe. Paul in Sydney. We know we're popular over there, aren't we?
Big down under, yeah.
Combo sets.
Yes.
How many is daft to combo? Is there such a thing?
No. Next question.
Well, let's move on. It's the end.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
To put some flesh on that bone.
Because you theoretically, you could go T100, wedge 9, T150, 8,
Yeah.
T250 all the way up, and then your little U thing.
Correct, yeah. I wouldn't be against someone. Every iron I saw today, you could create a combo set out of that 4.
5 if you do the U.
If you don't, yeah. I don't think that's ridiculous. You've got to think of these clubs as individual tools at every point in the bag that need to hit a specific yardage, spin. If it's hitting your window and it's doing what you want it to do, it doesn't matter. Think of someone like a Bernard Langer. Have we been through this before? One of Bernard Langer's
but
bags.
worth rehashing because it's very relevant to this.
So a Langer there was a point in his bag where I think he had 6 different brands represented, not in his bag, in his iron set.
Mad, isn't it?
So he would pick out, he had a Hogan, I'll get this wrong, the combinations of which was which, but he'd have a Hogan 5-iron because he loved the look of where that sat and it went the number he wanted his 5-iron to go, an Adams 6-iron, an Artisan 7-iron.
Didn't he have 2 7-irons at one point? They just did different jobs
different jobs. So that's like the mecca of of combo sets. It wasn't just I'm blending this between my T100 and T150 here. It was these tools need to do a specific job, and if you're not precious about how they look in the bag or the uniformity of it or whatever, they're 14 individual tools that need to do what you want them to do. So this, as I said at the start of that question, no, nothing is silly, nothing is off the table.
So it shouldn't be. Try weird stuff. And one I felt not weird, but like I've always thought a combo set doesn't have to be, there's a law to say this, but it should be like 3 and 4 of one or the other. I've gone 6 to wedge and then just put 1 in my 5-iron at the top because it hit the window I needed it to hit. And why the heck not?
But what do? We've said this before. We're creatures we just mimic, don't we? And we see what other people are doing and go, that's acceptable. I want to be like that. And a lot of tour players went down that route. There was a time when, when it's first started to be a thing, like, I don't know, talking about era here, probably going 15, 20 back, where 4-iron to wedge plus a 2-iron that was like a utility 2-iron, that was the tour thing. And everyone looked at tour and go,
well, I'll do that.
I'll go with that.
Yeah.
What did, half the players, we spoke about this again this morning, half the players in the world on tour go, X1, True Temper Dynamic Gold X100 in my iron shafts, down to S400s in my wedges. Why is that? Is that the best? Is it most optimal? Could well be. Could it have a massive influence because that's what Tiger Woods, the best player of everyone's generation growing up, did? Yeah, I tried that because that's what I do. That's what I do. I wanted to be like Tiger growing up, and I went into that spec and got used to it. So I've kind of just defaulted to that. We're copiers, but
let's stop being. Ask more questions like this. Ask
be more
weird
Bryson.
questions.
Be more Bernard Langer. Yeah. Try these things.
Get freaky with it.
Correct. I mean, a weird way of putting it down, but yeah, absolutely fine. Yeah, do that. Get freaky with it. But yeah, trying these things, you'll never know. But there's something wrong with my brain that wouldn't allow me to play a set like Langer's because that wouldn't
wrong with your brain.
Correct. That wouldn't sit right with me. But more power to him. I love it.
It does make sense still.
Massively,
it's not, doesn't it, right to you?
Yeah.
Good questions again. Thank you, everybody. We're getting great questions at the minute.
Yeah.
I think that's about it, Joe. We had a nice day.
It's been a fascinating day. It's been a long one. We've done loads, but yeah, I feel so much more clued up on things than I did before. Yeah,
and some exciting new irons. So you've listened to this, so that's some content from this. Whether our fitting videos are out or not, we don't know. They might be. If they are, go watch them. If they're not, they're coming. Our behind the scenes video, same thing.
Yeah.
If it's out, go watch it. If it's not, it's coming. And that's it from Titleist, Joe, isn't it? We're going to go play some golf now, actually, aren't we?
We are. We're getting up for a few holes on the cross country course that goes across where we've just been fitted. That's going to be interesting.
Guess what? That'll be out soon as well.
Who knows? Will it be? We'll find out.
But for now, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening from Carlsbad, from the Titleist Performance Institute.